coming to the stage. Also, if you're getting food, please remember there are 2 lines. There's also a line over here to the right of the stage next to the Sponsor Expo. So if you guys are tired of waiting in line, we have another line right here next to Sponsor Expo. But everybody, please just keep it down and show respect. But once again, we're going to be talking about how to build a business and a brand in government consulting. Please make some noise for Techsgiving Zone, Tasnim Rahman.
Yeah, I got it. Okay. Can you all hear me? Great. Alrighty. I know you guys are eating and getting lunch, but if you could kindly just keep it down a little bit so everyone can hear the panelists, that would be awesome. But thank you all for being here. Again, my name is Tasnim Rahman. Just a little bit on my background, but I feel like a lot of you were at my session yesterday, but I'm a research engineer at Georgia Tech Research Institute, and I am on the board of Techsgiving as well as their director of emerging markets and strategy, and I'm founder of my company, Taz's & Co. But today's panel is focusing on strategies for success, building business and brand in government consulting. And I'll invite our panelists on stage. So we have Tanika Askew. Everyone, a round of applause. All right, next we have Yasmin Abdi. Round of applause. All right, now up next is Simone Bees. And last but not least, Kanika Tolliver. So this panel will go into their businesses and their brands and their growth throughout the evolution of their business and brands. So I'll start off with the first question, which is just to introduce yourselves and quickly share what you do in your role. So we can start with Tanika and then go down.
Perfect. My name is Tanika Askew. I am a product manager, a data science product manager. A lot of my 9 to 5 is working with customers and clients to understand what are their current needs to get into predictive and data science capabilities. Outside of work, I often find myself working with the community in different ways. So it's either helping people find the resources that they need to get to the places where they want to be, or helping small businesses understand what it means to employ technology to really grow and scale their business.
Awesome. Yasmin.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Yasmin Abdi, for those that don't already know me. I'm the CEO and founder of NoHack. NoHack is a cybersecurity consulting firm that partners with public and private clients. So we do a bunch of security services for our clients. Outside of that, I work at Snapchat as a security engineering lead and manager. Outside of that, I'm on the board of Black Gov Tech. So if you guys don't have plans tonight where you have a gala, definitely come out. It's going to be an amazing time. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
All right, my name is Simone B, also known as Bees. I've been a GovTech professional for over 15 years now. I worked at Raytheon for 7 years and worked at Exonius as a federal technical account manager. And I also have my own company called the GovTech Academy. I help people get into GovTech. And I'm also on the board of Blacks in Tech Atlanta, and we help Black people get into tech as well. So we do different events, different conferences, and we do pretty much everything we need to do to help people get into tech. And I also do brand deals with different Fortune 500 companies and help them with their ads and marketing as well.
All right, everybody, my name is Kanika Tolliver. I have spent over 18 years in the GovTech industry. I'm a federal senior project manager where I lead a lot of ServiceNow implementation projects for the federal government. I am the best-selling author of an amazing book called Career Rehab. I have my own company called Career Rehab LLC, where we help people rehab their careers. We help people make sure that they know that they are a brand, and we also help people to learn how to date jobs so they can get this money.
Awesome. Thank you all. So this question is a little bit personal. Share a bit about the moment that you realized you wanted to start your own brand or business. This time we'll start with Kanika and come this way.
So, as I've been in GovTech for over 18 years, when I got into a situation at work where I really was unhappy, I started to shift my mindset from being an employee to being a brand, because I knew I needed to take back career ownership. So it was so important for me during a very difficult time within my career to take back career ownership. And that's when I checked myself into career rehab, and I worked on my skill sets, I worked on my personal brand, and I was able to go and transition into the private sector. And I just really got empowered by seeing what I could accomplish in the private sector within GovTech. And that's when I just started to date these jobs. I started to double and triple my salary. I started to build new connections. So it was during a very dark time is when I feel like I developed and birthed my brand into existence.
Yeah, so for me, I didn't build my brand on purpose. So my whole purpose was to just help as many people get into GovTech as possible and make six figures as possible. So, over the years, I've helped hundreds of people make six figures in tech, and just sharing information, putting out as much information as possible to help people get into the space. Over time, I just ended up building a brand, right? So, my name became a brand, GovTech became a brand, and, just helping as many people as possible. So while I was at work, I started telling my coworkers about what I was doing in GovTech, and started telling them about my community that I had. And that's really how I just continued to grow and get some backing from my company as well.
I think transparently, both my parents are entrepreneurs and business owners. So ever since I was a kid, they were like, oh, you're going to start your own business, you're going to start your own brand. So fortunately enough, I had that growing up. But I think, so before Snapchat, I worked at Google, and before Google, I worked at Instagram. So the work that I was doing, I've always seen just like the company getting so much more out of it than what I was getting. So for me, it's just like ownership. I think owning your work and owning your product and things like that means so much more when you do it for yourself rather than for like a large organization. So I think on my perspective, like just seeing the work that I was doing being amplified 10 times over for the white man, honestly, and just not for myself, I was like, okay, I can take that and I can scale tremendously. So for me, that kind of was why I wanted to build my brand and build it in this way, is like just complete ownership on the things that I do.
Amazing. Tanika?
So for me, it was a lot of entrepreneurship. Where I first started my career, I noticed that I was working in a space where I became known for something, and in this very niche area, I was starting to be featured on the company website. I was starting to be featured in company articles, and that was, I actually had the brand director reach out to me, and he started to talk to me more. I asked him to guide me into like, what does it mean to build this brand and have marketing associated with you. And so I actually got guidance from the first company that I worked at, the director, him himself, and that's where I learned about building your brand essentially. And from there, building my brand really meant people knowing me for what I do, knowing that I'm an expert in this space, and taking that expertise to other companies, and also pitching myself as an expert. So demanding that expert pay, but also demanding the projects where I saw fit that it would grow my career and my brand as well.
Amazing. Well, you guys all have great stories, but I want to focus a little bit on Yasmin's stories. So what strategies did you use to bring NoHack from conception to where it is now? And if someone were to basically try to build a business in your space or career, what strategies would you recommend them to follow?
That's a great question. 3 things I would say. 1, relationships. I always say that like relationships are the new currency. So if you are starting your business, especially in government contracting, sometimes you might not have all of the capabilities or like all the services partner with someone, find a co-founder, find a mentor, find someone. Relationships are super important. And that's honestly like how the deals are done these days. So relationships, I would say, is amazing and super important in building your brand. Two, don't be afraid to pivot. I think a lot of people are so gun-ho on like whatever they are building and creating, and that's fine. But with technology and with this landscape that we're in, everything is changing all the time. I just added new AI capabilities and services for my company, so I just think it's super important for everyone to understand that it's okay to change, it's okay to pivot, it's okay to add new things. We're all in tech, I'm assuming, and with all of that stuff, like, you're gonna be changing every single day with new technologies that are coming out. And then lastly, I would say depth, not breadth. Get really good at one or two things. Everyone wants to do everything for everyone all the time, and I think sometimes, whether it's you're starting your own company, whether it's you're trying to provide capabilities and services for people, that's fine and all, but just tie yourself to one or two things. So like for me, cybersecurity and AI and how I can enhance AI for small businesses, just try to get granular and specific to one or two things and get really, really, really good at that thing. So I think relationships, don't be afraid to pivot, and then just get really good at one or two things.
Okay, thank you for that. So ideally, focus on your niche.
Yes.
Okay. Simone, you're up next. So how do you position yourself and your brand in order to acquire new clients?
Yeah, so when it comes to positioning yourself and your brand, I would say the biggest thing for you to do is mostly be consistent and just be high quality, right? Somebody that these different companies and agencies can rely on. So if they need anything done, they know that they can reach out to you to do it. So focusing on your brand and just making sure that you're extremely consistent the whole time, that's mostly what I do to, get different clients and to just build my brand over time, with just consistently showing up and doing the work when other people weren't willing to do it.
Thank you, Simone. Kofi wants to make an announcement really quick.
Excuse me. Thank you. My good people, can we please keep it down? I know everybody's getting their food, they're conversing, but we have a panel going on right here, and a lot of people in the front, they cannot hear. So if you could please just quietly get your food, take it to the networking area so that they can get the food that they need, the knowledge that they need. So please let them get the knowledge they need and keep it down, please. Thank you.
All right. Hopefully it's better now. Thank you so much, Kofi. So next, Kanika, I want you to tell everybody a little bit more about your book, Career Rehab, and then also how do you use your platform to influence discussions around career development, and what impact do you hope to achieve in challenging traditional notions of work-life balance and career development?
Yeah, so, I wrote my book a couple of years ago, right before the pandemic, and I really wanted to create a book that was going to really teach us how to be a brand. A lot of times we have been conditioned to be an employee, and the employee mindset it's old, right? Like, it's basically you stay at a company for 30 years, you get a retirement. But I really created my book and my platform and my advice to empower people to think about themselves as brands, because this unstoppable success when you think about yourself as a personal brand. So my book has really been focused, and my platform and my advice has really been focused around shifting our mindsets to being a brand, but also encouraging people to leverage their existing relationships with people. And that's why I talk about in the book that we have to network like hustlers. Me being from DC, and it's being like a hustler mentality type city, if we use corporate America as our block, we could actually accomplish so much more instead of thinking about staying at one job for 20 years. So I look at every organization, every relationship as another way to leverage money, to leverage knowledge, just to leverage just anything that you wanted to do outside of work. My advice has been really focused around dating jobs. If you follow me on Twitter, you know that we ain't staying in no relationship with a job that's treating us bad. We dumping bad jobs. We getting into healthy work environments, and we basically are focusing on being married to the dream and not the job. And the dream is to create businesses, is to create like brand deals, is to create anything that you feel like is possible. Nothing is impossible. So that's the type of advice that I've always tried to encourage people to think about. As we shifted into the remote life, I wanted people to focus on getting the commute, getting the coins worth the commute. So getting the money right from home, right? We were so conditioned going into the office. So I really encourage people, like, if you want to work from home, if you want to work for hybrid environment, nothing is impossible. And you can secure the bag right from being in your pajamas if you want to, right? So I think it's so important that we have to focus on making sure that we know that we have to get out of our own way. And that's what I've tried to create for my platform.
Thank you so much, Kanika. Everyone really loved what you had to say. That's great.
Thank you.
Tanika, so you have gained a huge following on social media. How do you approach content creation to consistently provide value to your, basically, audience?
Yeah, a lot of my following was gained after I had a nonprofit and I was working with an organization to really help my nonprofit and their students in their nonprofit as well really understand how to pivot themselves into the career fields and the areas and get exposure to where they wanted to go. What that meant was finding the resources for them and also sharing those resources within the communities that I was in. And I had a friend tell me, you know, you should take these resources outside of our local communities, which were like group me's and group chats on our phones, and into more public space. So when I was working, I worked at a consulting firm, and I was like, I don't know if I wanted to be that public, but ultimately I started putting it out there. I started putting content out there, and I tailored it as I learned. I'm big at data and analytics, so as I learned what the audience wanted to see, what they wanted to hear, I took in feedback from questions that they were asking me. Well, how do you pivot to this space? I was like, I know data, I know analytics, but I know how to research. So I know how to Google something and get down to specific site level details, and that's where I started to share it even more into other areas, whether it was not only just data and analytics, but cybersecurity, system engineering, more product or program management work. That is where I started to build my community more, and it grew exponentially when I started to speak more about it and not just post about it and talk about it with my audience, getting on platforms like Twitter with people that I see in the audience, with Bees, with Kanika as well, and just doing that, so reaching the audience more in a way that they needed to be heard. And so giving that feedback, that perspective from my experience, as well as hearing it from the individuals on this stage, it just shared, everyone can get into the same space in different ways.
Amazing. Well, thank you. We do have a little bit of time left. So is there anything that each of you would briefly like to share with the audience that you think would be valuable for them? We can start with Tanika and go down.
Okay, so anything? I'd say my brief advice, one of the biggest things that I get questions on are, how do you figure out what your niche is? How do you figure out where you want to go? And that is very hard for people to figure that out, but what I always say is, a lot of it is trial and error. So if you haven't coded before and you're just hearing everyone else talk about how coding is hard, you don't know if that's your hard. So you need to figure out and try it for yourself, which means maybe taking 2 weeks, coding every day for 2 weeks to see if that 2 weeks is your hard. That is where I always say, start by trial and error. Everything that I do, even with the work that I do in experimentation and data science models, is trial and error. I tell my team to run 1,000 experiments a quarter, because that's how we get further. When you're looking to pivot into any new space, start with trying it out. Start with watching the videos, a day in the life, a day in the tech life. Bees makes a lot of videos now, and I think it's so amazing that during COVID, a lot of these videos came out, and a lot of people weren't used to seeing what people did, and it exposed everyone to wow, this is something that interests me. This is something that intrigues me. This is something that I think I could do every day. And if you feel like that is something that you can do, try it. The worst thing that'll happen is you spent time trying something new, but I will tell you, a lot of the things that I spent time on earlier in my career popped up later in my career, and I use that as a way to pivot myself into getting a bigger bag, more partnerships, more collaboration, something. Just try it and see how it works for you. But the worst thing that will happen is you fail, but you learn from it. It's a learning experience, and I'll tell you, like I said, AI and machine learning. We try things, we fail. When we fail, we use that as what we call reinforcement learning to say, how do we need to redo this model and get back on the right track?
Thank you. Yasmin?
Yeah. Ooh. I feel like I could do a whole 30-minute presentation on tips and tricks and all these things, but a couple things that stand out to me. One, I think like I was saying earlier, get really good at one or two things. Like become a subject matter expert on whatever specific thing it is. Like, so for me personally, I'll share with you all because we're friends in here. So I'm trying to become SME in all things AI and cybersecurity. So like, attach yourself to one thing, get really, 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 really good at that thing. If someone asks you anything from A to Z on that thing, you should be able to answer it. So I would say like attach yourself to one or two things. And then secondly, I think just like find a community. Like there's so many intelligent people in this room. Definitely network, find your people in here. And then like for me, that's honestly what helped me when I was first starting up. Oh, like what cybersecurity latest and greatest things are going out in the industry and things like that. So always stay informed, always like try to keep up with like news articles or podcasts or anything that's going out and stuff like that. Like every morning, my morning ritual is reading the news for 10 minutes. So I try to keep up with all things that are going on. So get informed, find a community, get educated, get really, really good at one or two things. This probably be my piece of advice.
Thank you. That was great advice. All right, Simone?
Yeah, so I would say, everybody's focused on getting the bag, but before you can get the bag, you really have to focus on getting your skills right? So focus on your skill set, and then also focus on building those relationships too, because especially if you're new, trying to break into a new industry or do anything new, the people that you know, they can help you get further than anything else, right? So you focus on building your skills, get really good at doing a few things, and have that relationship that you build where, they can put you in rooms that you could never get into before. They can give you opportunities that you never thought you'd be able to get, right? So I would say like most of the things that I've been able to do has been because of the relationships that I built over time. So, I've been on social media and giving out game since 2012. So by doing that, I know a lot of people. I built relationships with a lot of brands, a lot of government agencies, contacts, and things like that. So, that's the main thing that you want to do is focus on those skills and relationships before you focus on the money.
Thank you, Simone. And finally, Kanika?
So all of them said a lot of amazing things, but I'm going to talk about mindset. I think it's so important. There's a lot of people probably in this room that's either new to tech or trying to transition into tech. And I always try to tell people that it's mindset over movement. You can't make movement until your mindset is locked in. And a lot of times people are trying to make movement with the wrong mindset, and their GPS, their career GPS keep recalculating because they're not locked in. They're not focused into creating a strategic roadmap with the right mindset. I also want to tell people don't jump on the bandwagon. Just because somebody's studying ServiceNow, don't jump on the ServiceNow, bandwagon. Just because somebody doing cybersecurity, stay locked into the path that you choose and follow through with that. Because the more you keep career bandwagon hopping, you're going to constantly never get to your destination, and you're going to constantly keep recalculating. Another thing that I would tell people is to focus in on. You're here at Techsgiving right now, right? And you're building new relationships. You got to network for your future and not your past. You got to stop trying to bring old people with you when you're trying to go in a new direction. Because it's so important that if you're trying to get into tech and you're in a current industry right now, you may have to leave those other peers behind. So you got to network for your future and not your past. And the last thing I want to tell people, the more you learn, the more you earn. If you stop learning, you're going to stop earning. So if you want to get the bag, you have to be a continuous learner.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I learned so much from each and every one of you, but my main takeaway was definitely to focus on a niche and, like Yasmin said, become an SME, and Kanika kind of touched on that topic, and not to bandwagon, essentially. So I learned a lot. I'm sure everybody else did. So this concludes this panel. Please give a last round of applause for these amazing ladies.
Let's give one more round of applause real quick for them. Give it up for Tasneem as well. All right, y'all. I promise y'all, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to be bossy. I'm about 5'2", I can't be bossy. But we are a community. Excuse me. Thank you. I just got to say this to everybody here, yo. We are a community, right? And we are in a shared space. And you have some people that have different interests, whether it's government tech, whether it is career mobility, whether it is entrepreneurship, whether it's being a product manager. Y'all get the point. But when you are not interested in that segment, please show respect to your peers that are interested in that segment. I know we all want to talk, we want to network, that's what this is about, but it's also about gaining knowledge. So when you are not in that sector of gaining knowledge and you're networking, network with respect. I know I just said it twice, I feel like I got to say it again, because even when I asked y'all kindly, y'all weren't being quiet. So if y'all could please just respect this shared space when people are coming to the stage. Either way, it's now lunchtime, we're going to have some music, we're going to have some great vibes till about 2 o'clock. In that time, if you've already eaten, I know a lot of people have already eaten, please visit our marketplace. Show some love to these black businesses. They're trying to continue thriving, so show some love to these black businesses up there. We also have our sponsor expo. Once again, if you look to your right-hand side and you go to the back past the restrooms, go see our sponsors as well. And then we got plenty of other things to do. Otherwise, dance, have a good time, eat. Don't really matter what you do. Just enjoy yourselves. This is Techsgiving.
Every second, every minute, man, I swear that she can get it. Saying, you a bad bitch, put your hands up high, hands up high, hands up high. Tell them turn the lights down right now, put me in the mood. I'm talking about dark moon perfume. Go.
I recognize your fragrance, hold up, you ain't never gotta say shit, and I know your taste is a little bit, high maintenance, everybody else basic, you live life on an everyday basis with poetic justice, poetic justice. If I told you that a flower bloomed in a dark room, would you trust it? I mean, I write poems in these songs, dedicated to you when you're in the mood for empathy, it's blood in my pen, better yet with your friends and them. I really wanna know you all, I really wanna show you off. Fuck that, pour up plenty of champagne. Cold nights when you cursed this name. You called up your girlfriends and y'all curled in that little bitty range. I heard that she wanna go and party. She wanna go and party. Nigga, don't approach her with that Atari. Nigga, that ain't good game, homie, sorry. They say conversation, rule a nation. I can tell, but I could never right my wrongs unless I write it down for